Good day. Welcome to the Wild Ways podcast. We just had the full moon of the week. They call it the snow moon, or some people call it the snow moon. I guess historically it signified the February was the month with the most snow. I'm not too sure. Other cultures called it the bear moon, given the bears have their cubs around now in the den. Either way, it's always interesting when you have a full moon. Anecdotally, there's a lot of people that work at bars or at the courthouse that say a full moon makes us go a little crazy too. So who knows, but it certainly affects animals. So last week I did a episode on different rules for different fools, and I just want to touch base on a couple things regarding that because it's so true and how we're just constantly getting attacked. Like the last week I had mentioned that there's a group of people, and in that group they're all buddies, they're all in the same room. After some time a government guy comes in and says, okay, well, you guys have to follow these rules and you guys have to follow a different set of rules. And over time that government guy kept coming back in the room and separating the buddies, and basically, some guy have to, for example, get a hunting license. Other guys don't. Some people have to do firearm training. Other guys don't. Some guys have to follow strict seasons and other guys don't. So after a while, no matter how hard you try to remain friends, some people in that room, grow resentment toward other people in that room, and it's just human nature. It's reality, and it seems like the government is doing that. Like, it's hard not to think that they're not doing it on purpose. So over the last month, talking about that room again, they're coming in there and they're basically kind of announcing to the room that the one side of that room, their right to fish is in danger. There might not be allowed salmon, and they're all Canadians too, and the other side might get all the fish. So that's something that's starting to make the political circles, and it's getting out into the public that might be the next thing that goes away, is for the one side of the room anyways, is their their inherent Canadian right to fish. So that consultation period on that one's come and gone, but sometimes it doesn't even seem like it matters. They're going to do what they want anyways. The other, a few other changes they're talking about. I guess they've doubled the fines for illegal hunting, fishing, trapping, and unlicensed activity, habitat damage, and trafficking. Blah, 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 blah. But that seems to only apply to that one side of the room. It doesn't apply to the entire group of Canadians. It just, the government guy came in and said, we're doubling. If you guys are caught doing anything that this other side of the room is allowed to do, we're going to double your fines. So it's comical. There's some other rule changes they're looking at. They might take lead shot out of hunting, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the science behind that one well enough to comment on that at this time. I really look at this all and think that it's not really based on science. It's based on government officials, some of them elected, some unelected. I don't know how they make these decisions. I have a feeling there's some backdoor deals going on because it's literally not based on science. You could take the grizzly bear hunt as a prime example of that, and that's like not negotiable. So it brings me to my point. If you take, and I'll get to something here in a second, if you take the 30,000 foot view of all of this, it's weird because if you just back up and look from 30,000 feet, they've come into the room, they divided it. There's different seasons and licenses for different people, all Canadian citizens. Now they're trying to divide take the salmon away from one group and just give it all to the other group. They double the wildlife fines for the one group. It's so funny because every Canadian that has a PAL, so is a licensed firearm holder, gets an email from the RCMP the other day, and this notice is sent to all holders of a valid possession and acquisition license. So it's not sent to criminals, guys that use guns to hurt people. It's not sent to people that don't need to do any firearm training or anything like that. It goes, this notice is being sent to all holders of a valid possession and acquisition license as part of various actions and programs to tackle gun violence in Canadian communities. Beginning in May of 2020, the government of Canada deemed prohibited more than 2,500 makes and models of firearms. Should you own any of these prohibited firearms, thank you for safely storing and not using that prohibited firearm. And lots of these are like 22s. It's just different shotguns, like their grandpa's hunting rifles, certain types and makes. The government decided they were the ones that were committing all the crimes. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's ludicrous that the RCMP is following the government's orders. It's unbelievable that they sent it to all holders of valid possession and acquisition licenses, and this is nothing to do with crime. These criminals don't care about this. I sure hope that the average Canadian isn't going to conform to what the government's trying to do, is disarm us. So from a 30,000 foot level, it's a lot easier to control us. It's a lot easier to divide us up. It's a lot easier to enforce these stupid political rules and agendas. It's a lot easier for everything if we're disarmed. So from my perspective, anyways, it kind of looks like there's a hidden agenda here and it looks to me like it's about control. So I sure hope that Canadians at some point, and I think it's happening, I know it's happening amongst certain groups. I know some of them, individuals that are saying, no, F off, government, we're not giving up our guns. It's our last thing to do. Look at other parts of the world that's given up guns. And these are all, law-abiding citizens that are getting, it feels like, some weird sorcery from the government to try to either get us to go crazy or to disarm us and to dumb us down and to make us little sheep. I think that it's pretty obvious that's the agenda. There's a lot of anger sparked up over some land rights in British Columbia right now, and rightfully so. There was a lot of that in the background, so it just seems to me from a 30,000 foot view, it's meant to divide and conquer. So my encouragement for all outdoorsmen, all hunting guys, fishing guys that like the outdoors, like to go trapping, is stand up for yourself. It's time we do, because if we don't, the kids will have to, or the kids will be, from my opinion, slaves to the government and weakened and under the thumb of the whim of whatever tyrant happens to be in power at the time. So what I'm doing, I'm standing up for myself. I'm going full steam ahead with the outdoor lifestyle. I'm going ahead with my Canadian right to hunt, fish, and trap, regardless of what bureaucrats say and do about it. I hope that most Canadians are of the same mindset. I know lots are turning, and somehow we just keep kicking the can down the road. But for me and myself, the least I can do for my family is stand up for something. I see a lot of people literally die and they never stood for anything, and it's sad. And to be honest with you, I was always trying to be that guy and do what's right. Canadians, for the most part, are they conform. They're very polite. They try to do what's right. They listen, to the government and all that. But those days are over. The way this country's going and the direction it's going is not good. So I've leaned into the outdoors and nature. And it's interesting when you're out in nature. Nature doesn't give a shit about the current guy in power. Nature doesn't care about any of that. When you're out there, you can feel it and you get right back in tune with it. So rather than be online and doom scrolling about hating the way the country's going, I can only control what I can do. And that's my decision, was to go outdoors, to go back to nature, to get back to the land, and to and my historic relevance in all of our historically, every single vegan granola eater, tree hugger, or anybody that puts their nose up at hunting and fishing and trapping and I'm talking about sustainably, not to the point of extinction or anything. They're pretty hypocritical because they're here because they had ancestors that did that kind of stuff, and they clearly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for their ancestors. So my future is outdoor lifestyle and to try to be a positive influence on as many people as possible in order to do the same. I mean, you see all of this stuff and it's like you're careful. We've been programmed to avoid a life of adventure for 45 years in a cubicle, and that's what I'm not participating in no longer. And you get a 2% raise. It's so easy to get trapped into these programs that are designed to trap us. And you got a job at the mill, and every so often you got a raise, every so often you got another week holidays, and then after a few years it's hard to leave that because they give you this sense, whether it's false or not, this sense of security that I'm going to have a good pension, I got 5 more years left. And it's great for people that are into that. You need people that, but like, if again, 30,000 foot view, you're programmed to do that. We've been programmed from day one, my entire life. Our parents, I think there's an awakening now. It probably started for lots of people during the COVID era when we were just locked down like crazy and all this ridiculous stuff was being sold to us. And I think a lot of people started to wake up to the fact that the government isn't really in it for the betterment of Canadian citizens. And that's the truth. Prove me wrong. I mean, look at our towns. If I go in literally any town, small cities are brutal, any smaller town, the streets crime is up. Unfortunately, they gave away drugs here, I think, and there's people bent over all over the place. It's brutal to watch. You got to watch all your property. There's stuff going on, and those guys seem to not care about the law. It seems like their government is targeting the law-abiding citizens, the ones that want to make a positive, good difference in this country. It seems like they're getting targeted because you can literally go steal a car tonight and tomorrow you're back out stealing another car, yet we got to worry about our wildlife fines doubling if we make a mistake. So that's where we're at. And so I'm standing up for my right to hunt, fish, and trap, and be a positive influence on my family and try to be a positive influence on other people, my friends. And it's quite interesting. I had this thought the other day. So we're constantly, if we're coaching kids or we're a parent or we're a teacher or any sort of adult, we're always telling the kids, you got to be better, get off your phone, get in better shape, work harder, go outside. And yet a lot of the people that are doing this are like complete hypocrites. They're doing none of that. They're on their phone. They're out of shape. They're not getting outside. They're not exercising. They're not pushing themselves outside of the comfort zone. So for me, I've got to be a good example. And that's the mindset that I have right now is, so if I'm going to talk about it, I need to live it and do it and at least stand for something. So going back to trapping, seems like the Marten numbers are down across the country. Seems like Marten prices are going to be really good. Lynx should be good. Lynx are coming. There's rabbits all over the place around here anyways. And no trapper that spends time on his trap line, he knows his piece of ground better than anybody. So from the reports I've been getting from the locals around here, they've been catching Marten. Lots of wolves have been getting pulled out of here this year. As far as I can tell, guys are getting them, so that's good for the ungulates. And the snow conditions are unbelievable. The weather has been difficult lately for trapping. It was super cold and setting up really good, and now it's warm, and it looks like it's warm for the first 10 days of February here. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to head out we got some wolf stuff set up, and we have we're gonna pull the Marten. We don't have very much of that going on anymore, but the weather is so bizarre that it's plus 4 degrees right now. It should be like -5 or 10, and so that's an interesting trend that's been going on for a couple of years around BC. So I know that some of the trappers got pretty much no snow, everything was good, and then it snowed every day for 2 weeks, and it kind of buried all their traps and stuff. But that's part of the game that we play, and you gotta love it because it goes with the territory of being a trapper. It would be so rad to be able to get good enough at trapping to make your winter living off it anyways, and that's kind of my goal. So my focus will go and deal with the wolf stuff that we have set out there, and that's, we like catching wolves just because it helps the moose so much. But my focus will be spring beaver, and I know beaver's not worth very much, but we'll try to use the whole thing and spend some time out there in the spring. It's honestly one of the best times of the year to be out there, and usually you don't see anybody for forever, and nobody's has any reasons to be up where we are unless maybe there's a spring bear hunt or something. So I'll be doing some beaver trapping and looking forward to that Johnny Thorpe stuff I seen through the ice. And an old trapper that's passed away here now used to do it all the time and showed me some tricks of the trade. So I hope to be able to video some of that on my Lyman's Wild Ways YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that in the description. I'm just getting going there. It's been fun. It's been certainly out of my comfort zone and challenging in just to be in front of the camera and filming and that. So it's a work in progress, but hopefully I bring some of the beaver trapping and put it on there. And other than that, we just stay positive in this crazy man-made sorcery that's just seems to be attacking regular Canadians on a daily basis. So you just got to hit the ignore button on it, do the best you can, be a good example for the people around you, and definitely stand up for our rights here as Canadian citizens. It should be a challenging but a fun ride, and push me out of my comfort zone, but I don't care. Let's go. Let's be a good example for the youth. Until next time, guys, have a great one. I look forward to seeing you all again.